Hello everyone, this is your captain speaking and welcome back to my Zodiac 12. This episode will be all about Taurus. The original model is called Bloodhoof Minotaur Barbarian. The link for it will be in the description. To start off, I gave the skin a base coat of a mixture of army green and a tiny bit of black. It looks really dark, but I really prefer that so I can enhance the highlights and control the tones later on. And like everything else I've ever painted, this took multiple coats. For the fur on the feet, I wanted a tiny bit of a difference, so I mixed angel green and black together. It ended up not mattering too much, but I thought it was a fun detail. This is a very pretty model in that it has a lot of layers and details, so the loincloth has like 3 different layers that I was really excited to play with. So to start off, I just did the main belt area and based it in leather brown. And yes, I know it's out of focus. It's really hard to record something that small that consistently. Okay, shut up, I'm fixing it. I also used leather brown for the straps on the back and the front, and on the backs of the legs. So I wanted to do something interesting for the majority of the loincloth, so I mixed together some cobalt blue into my leather brown and it made this. It's definitely unique and not what I was expecting, but it also just looks like army green. Trust me, it'll look better. It'll look way better later. It looks awesome. I wanted to put a little bit more detail into the belt area, so I mixed together the cobalt blue and the leather brown again, but put in significantly less leather brown and just painted the secondary loincloth layer with it. I also realized that I missed some leather straps on the left arm and the legs, so I filled in those with some leather brown. Then I decided to get a rough start on the armor, so I mixed shining silver and Fenrisian grey to give it a solid base tone. I also did this on the nose ring, I just forgot to record it because it was so small. So I felt like being a little quirky with the axe here and base it in sterling mud. Since Taurus is an earth sign, I thought it might be interesting for him to have some kind of magical weapon that goes along with that theme. And I almost forgot about the horns, which are just plain black for now. I also used black for the leather bracelet on the right arm and the small spikes on front of the clothes. Once all of that was completely dry, I covered the entire mini in a green tone wash. I made it a little heavier on the axe to add some definition. Here we see me noticing yet another leather strap that I missed. Good job, me. Because I wasn't too thrilled with just green tone on every part, I took some strong tone and washed over the axe, the armor on the arm, and all of the leather areas. So once all that finished drying, I decided to start highlights on the skin. I started with my original mix of black and army green and added in increasing amounts of green skin to lighten it while keeping it the proper color palette. It looks very bright right now, but it does darken quite a bit once it dries. Also, I know it's blurry, and I'm sorry and upset, but I'll try fixing it later on. Yes, that does kind of look stupid, but it looks good when it dries, trust me. So the washes that I did on the armor really darkened it down, so to highlight it, I mixed together army green and Fenrisian gray again, and used very sparing highlights on the tops and sides of the metal plates. I've never been that good at non-metallic metal painting, but I did my best and it still turned out alright. Then I took pure plate mail metal and placed it kind of all over the armor in small patches to give it a kind of weathered look. To highlight the leather, I did some general coverage with normal leather brown, and then for the more visible and upturned areas, I just added some skeleton bone. Similarly, to highlight the black areas, I just added skeleton bone in as well. While doing that, I decided to make the eyes black as well and then highlight them roughly. This is the part of the mini I'm actually the proudest of. Starting with my original mix of cobalt blue and leather brown, I kept adding in cobalt blue as I went brighter on my highlights, and it gave it a gorgeous kind of grungy leather look, and I loved how it turned out. I applied this in a very rough manner. Just stab the miniature. The lighter blue area on the loincloth, like everything else, is just the base tone mixed with some skeleton bone. Then I used pure leather brown to very roughly dry brush the axe for a better, more defined look. Mainly the top of it. Now comes the weird part. Using normal model cement, I placed down some of the stringy grass effects into the handle and the blade of the axe. If I can find out where I got them, I'll put a link for them in the description. It was kind of difficult, but using tweezers made it a lot easier. I wanted to have it look like the grass and the vines were wrapping around the handle of the axe, so I bent them into the shape I wanted and let it dry. Once the handle was done, I put a large clump right at the end of the stick portion and tried to flatten it down a bit. While all that was drying, I thought it would be a good time to do the symbol. The most logical place for it would have been on the axe, but like I said, I don't want the symbol to be on a weapon, I want it to be part of them, so on the back it goes. It's a very simple process, the only problem is the fact that it's thin symbol and fairly hard to do correctly. I started with goblin green, then kept adding in white until I was happy with the brightness of the color. It could have gone better, but it also could have gone worse, so there you go. I also took this opportunity to spread some green glaze around the symbol to give it a faint glow. Starting on the base finally, I began with just a base coat of sterling mud. Also, on a whim, I decided to use some Emperor's Children and Demonic Yellow on the vines and the axe to give it some color and kind of a flowery look. It didn't turn out as flowery as I'd hoped, and you can add whatever you like to have it be that way. Once the sterling mud dried, I mixed together my model cement and some Lamian medium to make a flowy sort of glue and painted it into the crevices on the base. Once that had gotten to the crevices that I liked, I took some very fine sand effects and sprinkled it all over the base, loosely brushing off any excess. Also, for some weird reason, I used the same flowy glue and mixed it all over the bottoms of the legs and took a very small grass base effect and placed it down very carefully. I was going for a kind of his legs are made of grass look, but this really isn't necessary and it sucked. Once all that dried thoroughly, I used a thick brush to remove any of the sand and grass that didn't get glued down properly, and then I washed it all in a heavy green tone. And finally, as the last touch, I dry brushed some wet mud all over the base for some tonal variation. And there you have it, Taurus has been completed. I hope you enjoyed this, please let me know if you did. I also hope you maybe learned something about if you're painting if you're a beginner, or if you have any advice for me, I would love to hear your input in the comments below. On screen are the link to my website, Facebook page, and email for my business Eye of the Beholder, which is a small commission painting service. Thank you for watching, bye.